Aloha. Good morning, everyone. Since my last report on March 20, as you've heard in some of our speakers, the volume and pace of federal actions have continued to escalate, and we have a number of things to report this morning. So I apologize in advance for the length of my comments this morning. I will start with immigration. I think that's top of mind for most of our community. Over 180 colleges and universities have now identified more than 1,200 international students and recent graduates who've had their legal status changed by the State Department. As we've said publicly, a small number of our students, and it's true, it is less than 5, have had their visas revoked. I should say part of the reason for hesitancy to give specific numbers, it's literally changing by the hour. And so we want to make sure that we're accurate in the information that we're communicating. While visa decisions are made by federal authorities and are beyond our control, we are doing everything in our power to support these students, including advocating for them at the federal level where possible and identifying pro bono legal services that may be available to them. And part of the reason we have not given more information about what we are doing is given the small number and the likelihood or possibility of public names being released, we don't want to invade the privacy of these students as to the reason for the termination. We want to reassure the campus, however, there have been no reports of ICE officials being on campus at any time, and we continue to monitor the situation. We also should respond in terms of our speaker this morning that we have issued significant numbers or several different documents that specifically identify the protocol on each campus. It's not subject to interpretation, with phone numbers and a clear chain of command for what should happen should there be an appearance by ICE on campus. To the extent, obviously, I know the desire of the community is to have significantly more information. In part, that's one of the reasons we're having the forum next week so that we can discuss in a Q&A format more information in this regard. In terms of our financial concerns, they continue to grow. And an April 14th opinion piece in the Chronicle of Higher Education listed UH Manoa 52nd out of 77 institutions with the greatest exposure from new federal policies based on potential cuts to NIH and NSF funding. To identify just a few additional reasons for this assessment, on March 20th, President Trump signed an executive order directing the closure, as you know, of the U.S. Department of Education, leading to significant staff reductions and reassignment of programs like student loan management to other federal agencies. For UH, the Department of Education is our third largest source of federal funding, supporting over 100 programs and employing 276 individuals. The Department of Energy just recently announced a new policy capping indirect cost recovery for research at 15%, much like it did with the NIH, and this will impact the financial structure of our research initiatives. Early indications identify a potential impact of approximately $26 million in funding to UH this fiscal year alone. A temporary restraining order has been issued in that case, so it remains to be seen the ultimate impact. Plans have been unveiled to significantly restructure the National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration, known as NOAA, including a 20% reduction in staff and the elimination of climate-focused research programs. Given our international strength in this particular area, this will likely have a very significant impact at the university. A federal appeals court on March 21st lifted a nationwide injunction that had blocked parts of the executive order targeting DEI efforts. As a result, federal agencies have resumed terminating equity-related grants and other grants, launched compliance investigations, and are requiring universities to certify adherence with new DEI restrictions in order to receive funding. We have already been financially impacted by these terminations and actions, and we've reported some of those, although on a daily basis, it continues to change. As of April 15th, 36 research programs have been terminated, issued stop work orders, or in the process of being phased out. These programs represent approximately $30 million in federal funding and have affected more than 40 employees. The programs impacted are largely aligned with what you would expect, areas no longer prioritized by the federal administration, namely research related to diversity, equity, inclusion, and accessibility, sustainability, renewable energy, climate change, and minority health disparities, among others. We anticipate the number of affected programs will grow in the coming months, and that by August, we should have a clearer picture of the full scope of the impact, which will likely include additional job losses, as we reported previously. I am happy to say that at this moment, UH remains financially stable because of our reserve funds and careful financial planning in the past. Campuses will likely be required to use available resources to meet severance obligations for employees in accordance with collective bargaining agreements and university policies. In light of these obligations and continued uncertainty in the national economy, and there's also the squeeze effect of reduced funding and personnel that delays the amount of time between invoicing and reimbursement, we've announced a series of financial mitigation measures this week. As communicated, all campuses were directed to review and update their financial contingency plans and begin implementing the following actions. All new hires funded by extramural grant awards now require approval by the respective chancellor, provost, or vice president. Hiring for permanent general funded positions may proceed through the standard process. We are trying to be careful to allow strategic decisions to be made at the level that they need to be made, while still being mindful of the financial implications of our current situation. University travel is restricted to essential trips, with final approval delegated to the campus chancellor, provost, or vice president. And I do want to add here that in defining essential, we are taking into account the need for professional development and promotion and tenure. University consulting and professional service contracts exceeding $100,000 annually will require approval by the chancellor, provost, or vice president, and contracts over $250,000 annually will require my direct approval. We expect that additional cost containment measures may be necessary as the implications of the policy changes become clear in the coming months. And through this process, I can assure you we remain committed to thoughtful and measured action, implementing only those restrictions that are necessary and maintaining our focus and prioritization on student success and institutional mission. We are approaching this change collaboratively, not just to sustain our campuses through this period of disruption, but to strengthen our long-term resilience and continuing to evolve to better serve our students and the people of Hawaii. Obviously, as you heard this morning, and I'm sure it comes as no surprise, there is significant concern among our community for what is happening. And of course, we share that concern. As you know, billions in federal funding to several universities have now been frozen due to alleged noncompliance with the new federal mandates regarding anti-Semitism and DEIA initiatives. As has been widely reported, that includes over $2 billion to Harvard University, which is contesting the action. Cornell and Northwestern universities have likewise had over $1.8 billion in federal funding frozen. We are detailing these actions and our steps in regular communication with the campuses on almost a weekly basis, but certainly every other week. And I want to say again, as clearly as I possibly can, we are doing everything in our power to respond to this moment and paying close attention both to how we react to this moment, but how we can proactively take measures to protect our community. We are engaged in continuous litigation through the Attorney General. We are now up to 4 cases that we are participating in there. We are partnering in numerous respects with our collective institutions like the American Council on Education and the American Public Land Grant Universities to challenge the lawfulness of each of these actions and have been successful in earning many temporary restraining orders. We will continue working with our partner institutions to determine how we can advocate effectively in this moment, including the President's Alliance on Higher Education and Immigration. We are continuing and will upscale the number of stories that we tell of the research projects that are being canceled, our community members that are impacted, and the real people whose lives and work are being disrupted. We are also working actively on unit-level communications to begin sharing these stories with policymakers and our broader university community. As I mentioned, we'll be hosting our second open forum on Monday, April 21st, and that will be both live in person and live stream to ensure the participation of our 10 campuses. The forum will include a presentation that focuses on immigration and a question and answer session that will be broadly welcoming of any question from our community. We are committed to transparency and open communication. We continue to meet with my advisory council on every other week basis, and I want to thank them publicly for the tremendous assistance that they've provided in helping guide our behavior and our actions. In this moment of historic change for higher education, I agree with our speakers this moment. There has never been a greater time and a need for clear, timely, and inclusive communication and collaboration. And I encourage all members of our UH Ohana to attend and tune in as we continue these conversations. I also want to make a plea to read the email communications that come out. There's a great deal of additional specific information and links to our website that has detailed, commonly asked questions and answers. So on to an entirely different subject of our athletic director search. I'm pleased to report that it is on track and on schedule. The search committee convened in late March and has been actively engaged in the process. The position was officially posted on April 4th, making the start of a nationwide advertising and recruitment campaign. Parker Executive Search, the nationally recognized firm that is assisting us, is actively now recruiting candidates from across the country and here in Hawaii. They have already conducted a series of listening sessions with key stakeholder groups, including coaches, staff, student athletes, faculty, alumni, and community partners to inform and guide the search process. In addition, Parker has provided information sessions for the search committee that feature collegiate athletics experts on key issues like name, image, and likeness, the transfer portal, conference realignment, the stadium, and the upcoming House and NCAA settlement. As we all know, there's a lot going on in collegiate athletics right now. Our current timeline anticipates that Parker will present a pool of qualified applicants in the next few weeks, followed by the first round of interviews and background checks. If all continues as planned, I expect to bring a finalist to this board by midsummer, if not sooner. I hope you can tell from the process that we're following, however, that while we are moving efficiently, we are not rushing the process because of the significance of this selection. It is critical, and our goal is to conduct a thorough, transparent, and inclusive search that ensures we attract the very best possible candidate for this important role. On that note, I did want to inform the board of some of the challenges of this search, including the salary range and market demand for this kind of talent. We have to, as you know, ensure that we are competitive in whatever package we offer to this individual in order to bring someone who can meet the demands of the moment. When Manoa's previous athletic director departed, his annual salary was in the mid 300,000s, a number that has not changed much in the previous decade. According to the most recent public data that is available, that's well below the salary for athletic directors in the Mountain West Conference, which, as you know, we have recently joined as a full member. We are considering a competitive range of a salary based on these numbers, and I'll give you a few data points that are relevant in that conversation. The annual average salary at a base level in the Mountain West is somewhere around $400,000. There are also significant additional incentives that come in tied to such things as team performance, conference champions, student athlete GPAs and graduation rates, fundraising, housing, etc., that can total well more than $100,000 a year. In order to attract top-tier candidates, we will need to also offer, as you know, a formal employment contract. And I thank the board for already authorizing that, as our last athletic director was on an at-will appointment. I also expect there will need to be some performance incentives in this contract in order to be competitive in the Mountain West. If we want to secure a dynamic, experienced leader who can navigate this landscape, we must be prepared to offer a competitive package. And so we'll be having conversations about what that looks like. And I want to assure the board that we will be both fiscally efficient, but also mindful of the importance that athletics play in our university as a whole and to the state. So thank you very much for your support in that. Turning very briefly, since this is already a long report, I do want to report that I've completed my 10 campus and 6 educational center tours here in the first 100 days. And I was truly deeply moved by the warm welcome that I received across the board. It was filled with aloha and really very joyous, even in the rain. You all got a little taste of that this morning. What stood out for me, as I've reported before, are how many faculty, staff, students, and community members expressed a deep sense of support for me personally because of the recognition that the success of the university is so significant to our community. It is an extraordinary foundation of passion, commitment, and belief in our mission that exists here, and I'm excited to build on the excellence that I saw and move the university to the next level. I've shared with the board leadership an initial action plan for the next 18 months that identifies some key imperatives that I think coming out of these conversations are reflective of the community desire, and identified system level goals that will be translated into actionable plans with defined metrics, clear roadmaps, and accountability structures that keep us honest and our feet to the fire. To give you just a quick sense of what that looks like, I'll come back and report more fully. We will be looking at modernizing and integrating uniform key technology across the campuses to really create a comprehensive data infrastructure. We will be looking to establish a student success support network that defines a standard of care for every student at every campus that is commensurate. We will be working hard to improve our admissions and enrollment and retention numbers, working closely with the DOE to facilitate ease of enrollment and with our adult learners. We will begin the development of an AY system-wide strategy that will use AI across the 10 campuses in every aspect of our operations. We will explore the creation of a front door for industry at the system level to facilitate our engagement with our business community and state government. And finally, we will execute and use the findings of a programmatic gap analysis to identify how we can best meet the needs of our community in terms of programs and degree pathways. Longer term, we'll be looking at modifying our budget structure and a number of other issues, including universal transferability and system-wide alignment. Ultimately, the goal is to achieve collectively a system-wide integration that ensures every campus has the resources, tools, and support that they need to thrive by exercising our ability at scale to make those things a reality. So stay tuned for that. I look forward to our conversations and moving that agenda forward. I also want very briefly to thank everyone in our community for a very successful University of Hawaii Giving Day on April 9th. It was a record-breaking day. We raised over $800,000 for more than 1,800 gifts, a 36% increase from last year's total. And I think that's really amazing. Yeah, I think that is worth applauding. You should be applauding yourselves. We really appreciate that level of commitment. There was significant alumni participation, I think reflecting how important we are to the community. And I applaud members of the administration where we recognize if we're asking for support for others, it's important that we demonstrate that support too. And many of us had significant matching gifts for our community, as did I, for our food pantries and graduate students, things that are near and dear to my heart. So we look forward to continuing that type of giving and stay tuned for our next steps in terms of our campaign. Finally, given all that is so challenging, it would be remiss of me not to end with just some points of good news to remember the incredible work that's being done here. As we play defense in some areas, we are also playing offense in really moving forward the strategy. Congratulations to UH Community College colleges for earning top national honors for their marketing campaign promoting career and technical education programs. The campaign received a Gold 2024 Paragon Award from the National Council for Marketing and Public Relations, standing out among the more than 1,500 entries from 210 colleges nationwide. So very, very impressive. 7 graduate programs at UH Manoa have now been ranked among the top 50 in the nation, with an additional 14 ranked in the top 100, according to the 2025 U.S. News World Report Best Graduate Schools ranking released on April 8th. The UH Manoa Hawaiian Theater program is celebrating its 10th anniversary with a major milestone. Its Hawaiian language production, Puana, has been invited to perform this June at the Kia Mau Festival, a premier showcase of Maori, Pacific, and Indigenous performing arts. In another outstanding example of UH's impact on local communities, Molokai Elementary School students received free dental services through the Hawaii Keiki Healthy and Ready to Learn program, a partnership between the UH Manoa School of Nursing and Dental Hygiene and the Department of Health. Approximately 110 students received those dental screenings, oral health education, hygiene kits, and preventative dental sealants. And I will say I was there while they were doing that, and the kids were not crying. They looked very happy. And I know their parents were happy to get those services without having to take time off of work at no cost to the students. And I will end with one of my favorite Points of pride, the Ballroom Dance Club at UH Manoa successfully defended its national title at the National Collegiate Dance Sport Championship in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, competing against more than 40 colleges across the country. Congratulations to them. I like to say we do it all here. And that concludes my report. Thank you.